These are Big City Green's best episodes of all time, the third one being Chippocalypse Now, with an impressive rating of 8.8 stars. The episode instantly starts off with a problem, since some big businessman named Chip Whistler bought and shut down the coffee shop next to the Green's house, which was also where Cricket and Gloria worked, so they both just lost their jobs. So what does the Green family do? They turn to the leader of the house, the all-powerful and wise Mom. But Mom literally just wants to show off her mom hat. Right after this happens, they get a knock at the door, and it's none other than my boy Chip himself. Chip reveals his plan to build a huge supermarket called Whole Foods, right around where their house is. He even bought out the entire apartment complex on the other side and kicked them out too. This guy is just a rich jerk. But what's crazy is stuff like this actually happens in the real world, and it sucks to think about. Within minutes of the people leaving the apartment, he just has explosives wired to both buildings. Wait, does that mean that this man rigged the building to explode while people were still inside? That's insane. They even made a whole dystopian version of the theme song for this episode, which I thought was a cool detail. I love when shows change the theme song for a special episode. So Chip builds the entire grocery store around the house, but the Greens are still planning on fighting for their property by any means necessary. It starts off with petty stuff like leaving bites and apples and writing over the price tags to make them look unaffordable, like $500 per nut, but this lady still threw it in her cart. That's a sugar mommy, and I need one. The Greens are writing hate speech on a cake when they discover something crazy. Gloria already got a new job, and of course it's at the Whole Foods market. And Gloria turns on the Greens because she really needs a job, so she gets them kicked out by security. Wait, did I say kicked out? I meant thrown into a garbage disposal that lands right on their house. This is where Chip announces how he plans to get rid of the Greens. He says he got it personally approved by the mayor to destroy their house for a parking garage. And he has the legal right to destroy their house at midnight. This guy must be rich for all the stuff he's doing and how fast it happens. Mom and the kids are ready to fight against Chip though and save their home, but Dad thinks it's smarter to move on and let Chip have the house. And I don't blame him, honestly. Chip has the money and power to do whatever he wants, so fighting someone like that would be really hard, especially after he already got approved by the mayor. Another reason Dad says they shouldn't fight it is because they already went through the same thing with another corporation with their farm, and the mom ended up getting arrested for trying to go against them. He tells him it's time to start looking for a new place, instead of wasting their time and effort here. But this family is not going to just sit back and let this guy take their house, especially when they already have beef. This makes the Green family get serious. Everyone but Dad is ready to defend the house. And despite his warnings to the kids and the mom, they go and directly talk to the mayor. Things seem to go well at first too, because the mayor is actually a really nice guy who just wants to make people happy. Chip abuses this though, because he literally made a petition sheet to destroy the Green's house for the parking garage and gets a bunch of signatures. But then he says something a little suspicious.
This is for mine and the mayor's peepers only.
So it has me wondering if it's even legit. Then the cops bust the door open saying they got a distress signal, and Chip says Nancy assaulted him. So the cops tackle and arrest her. Also, look at the way this dude just jumps on her. This cop is so happy to arrest her for some reason. Since Mom's in jail now, Dad has to pick up the kids and he is not happy. The kids aren't happy either, but they agree to start packing before things get worse. But I highly doubt it's gonna end that easy. The kids start packing, but then they get a message, which is something crazy helpful. A picture of Chip's petition sheet, but then Cricket notices something horrible. One of the signatures on the petition was from his best friend Remy. So Cricket pulls up to the house and straight up tackles this dude, questioning him like crazy. Remy's bodyguard Vasquez shoots Cricket with a net. Cricket tells Remy about the petition, but when Remy doesn't know anything about it, Cricket finally realizes what really happened. Chip made a petition full of fake signatures, which is extremely illegal and wrong on so many levels. Also, signing people's names that are actually friends with the Greens is just sloppy work and easy to trace in my opinion, so he's mad dumb for that. They meet their mom at the prison cell, and look how these kids are hanging in this window. Vasquez is the GOAT. Mom tells the kids that if the petition is fake, they need to find proof. So now the kids are on a mission. Back at the house, there's a loud boom, and this is where the episode starts getting really crazy. Chip is already outside with an entire construction crew and bulldozers, ready to crush this beat up old house. The kids come back to share the plan with Dad and Grandpa, but of course Dad is just a spinning ball of anxiety. At least Grandma joins the group huddle with no questions asked. Grandma is ready to defend her house. They also have a pretty solid plan. Cricket and Remy are gonna go get evidence at Whole Foods, while Grandma and Tilly stay at the house to buy them time. Chip is insane and breaks yet another law. Dude goes,
"It's midnight somewhere,"
and just sends in the demolition crew. Turns out Grandma was not packing at all and was actually preparing to defend the house. I would not want to mess with Grandma. She puts a whole barricade that stops the bulldozers, at least for now, and we go back to Cricket and Remy, who are at the store, but the front entrance is locked. So they go through the garbage disposal on a stack of animals, and they somehow manage not to get caught by the security guard standing watch, even though Remy is literally sweating right into Cricket's eyes. The kids make it to the elevator, but then a giant light blinds them, and it's Gloria. She almost reports Cricket, but he ends up guilt tripping her since she's so close with the family, and she helps them get through, and even holds off a security guard for them. Back at the house, things start going crazy. It starts to look like a literal war, and construction guys start charging at the house. Tilly and Grandma fight back with this year's corn harvest, and things just keep getting more intense. Remy and Cricket are trying to guess Chip's computer password and almost give up until Cricket is a peanut brain garbage goblin unlocks the laptop. Insane password, and this dude Remy just casually guesses it. Cricket and Remy notice the family is struggling, so they call him back up. My boy Vasquez. I honestly love this dude and his dedication to his job. Grandma pulls out a sword, and her and Vasquez are tearing this army to pieces. Unstoppable duo. Dad keeps trying to get the family to evacuate, and right when him and Tilly are talking, it gets broadcasted. So now the entire town knows about what Chip is doing to the Greens. The speech also inspired Dad to stand up for the house too, which was a nice little character arc. Back at the prison, Mom finally sees just how bad things are going at her house, and she even somehow convinces a cop to free her. Turns out the Greens are his favorite people to police, so no wonder this guy was so happy arresting her. Also, Remy and Cricket finally got the concrete evidence they need to put Chip behind bars. Every single signature came from the exact same IP address, so the petition was clearly faked. Cricket has the evidence, but when he goes to leave, Chip is there with his goons blocking the exit. Remy uses some insane manipulation on security guards, and it works like a charm. Also, the construction workers tear apart the barricade, so the bulldozers are ready to clear through. Even Grandma's starting to look defeated. But by some miracle, the mayor is woken up by the commotion and comes to the Greens' house, asking what's happening. Mom tells the mayor that Chip's petition is fake, but he's not convinced until he sees some hard evidence. This is when my boy Cricket shouts from the rooftops with his evidence. But then Chip does something straight up evil here, and he's flying his helicopter right above Cricket, and all of his proof gets sucked right up to the helicopter's blades. This is when the whole town comes forward, announcing that they don't want the Greens to be kicked out of the town, even though they're a bunch of weirdos. Now, seeing what his people really want, the mayor changes his mind and orders Whole Foods to tear down their building and put the Greens' house back the way it was. He even bans Chip from ever coming back to the big city, which sends him into a fiery rage. This dude's psychopathic personality is put on full display as he literally tries to murder Cricket and his entire family with a helicopter blade. Look at this dude's eyes. He's really going insane over some green people. Chip drives the helicopter right into the power lines and literally slingshots himself into space, giving me heavy Team Rocket vibes right now. The episode ends with Gloria deciding to move into the Greens' house, since she lost both of her jobs and can't afford to stay in her apartment anymore. So wow, this episode was really good, and since this is my first time watching it, I'm starting to see why people like it so much. The plot of the episode instantly started with high stakes, and all of the family freaking out because they're losing their house, with virtually no way to fight back. Then the fact the entire episode was building up to Chip being arrested, but then had a completely different twist and ending was pretty cool. Actually, I feel like there was so many twists in this episode. Most cartoons these days, I feel like are extremely predictable and generic, but this episode was the complete opposite of that. I literally had no idea what was going to happen the whole time. I never expected to see Vasquez and Grandma beating up construction workers together or chickens mauling them, but here we are. A problem I have with shows that do 20-minute specials is the plot can start to feel dragged out and predictable, but this episode was really good to keep me entertained the whole way through. It had a serious tone, but also a lot of enjoyable little jokes throughout. I thought Chip was a great villain, and it was a little crazy to me how violent the ending was, especially for a modern Disney show, but it was really cool to see. The second episode is Concrete Jungle with a rating of 8.9 stars. Right away, some of this episode is very different. The characters aren't really talking, but instead the story is being told by a narrator, like a nature documentary. It starts off from space and shows an entire world view that really highlights just how diverse and beautiful the world is, even showing the real struggles like impressing potential mates. But instead of focusing on nature, this documentary is going to focus on the most diverse ecosystem of all, the concrete jungle. More specifically, a pack of humans known simply as the Greens. Instead of using their names, the narrator calls them a male, the matriarch, two cubs, and the bottom dweller. The male is awoken by nature's sweet melody, which is just car horns going crazy, and everyone gets up and starts getting ready for the day. Now the Greens get ready to venture out into the dangerous concrete jungle, all except for one. The matriarch remains behind, because she is the alpha of the area. But then some construction crew breaches into her territory, causing her to flip out and show her angry colors. She also gives a distant warning call. Since the matriarch was ignored, she feels her authority has been challenged and takes action, using her reinforced neck from poor posture. The matriarch easily beats two of the construction goons, but then she must face the alpha, and the alpha stood no chance, and the matriarch remains the queen of her land. Now we follow Cricket and Remy, or the Green Club and his playmate, and they literally are just playing like cubs. It's really funny how all the characters are acting like animals in different ways. Now comes time for the cubs to feed, and a burger van pulls right up to the park. Though the cubs are agile, their little legs limit their speed, so they get stuck in the back of the line of hungry predators. The cubs patiently wait their turn, and after a long wait, they are finally in front of the bus. But then their food is stolen by aggressive teenagers. While they aren't normally predators, if the cubs wish to eat, they must now become hunters. So it catch the teenagers off guard when one of the pack members fall behind, and the cubs manage to get their food back. But now there's one problem. The cubs just went from hunters to hunted. The teenagers chase them and corner them in an alleyway, but a gust of steam from an air vent allows the cubs to hide, and the teens leave. And now it's time to eat. Now it's time to follow the bottom dweller, whose role is waste collection. Though it seems like a lowly existence, bottom dwellers are necessary to keep the watering hole clean. But when the bottom dweller brings out the garbage, she peers into the waste, foraging for treasures, and she spots her treasure, a red pair of heels. The bottom dweller dives into the waste to claim her prize, but then something insane happens. A garbage truck drives right by her dumpster while she's still inside of it, which gotta be some crazy bad luck. But now the bottom dweller must make a decision. Should she scream and have everyone at the cafe stare at her, or just accept her fate at the hands of the garbage truck? Social death or literal death? So the bottom dweller screams, and the driver notices in time. But the inhabitants of the watering hole see her and are shocked, but she's safe and has claimed her prize. As the morning sun rolls into afternoon, we now get to follow the female Green Club, who must navigate the busy afternoon traffic. Small in size, the Green Club is not noticed by the stampede, but once they see how the other creatures get the attention of a stampede, the Green Club turns to another strategy to survive: mimicry. The herd comes to a complete stop once they see the new bright colored creature, and the cub safely makes it to the middle of the road. But the stampede on this side is a complete different story. As they're leaving the concrete jungle, these animals are faster, angrier, and more distracted. To survive, the cub must become even more eye-catching, and she does just that. The cub safely crosses, and it's now evening. The male of his pack is out foraging food for his pack, but he's having some truck problems, so he takes the subway instead. Now he's in a danger zone though, and he looks scared, and the male trips on a water bottle and almost loses his precious eggs, but he manages to protect them. But then danger approaches because a protein hunger beast has spotted the male's eggs. Using his round body as a defensive shield, the male safely escapes and protects his eggs. I really love the x-ray shot. They help feed into the whole documentary vibe so well. The sun starts to set and the pack meets up at their house, and this scene is so cute. The family bonds over their successes and hardships, and we get to see them talk to each other for the first time in the entire episode. They did a really good job at showing that no matter how hard their days are, their bonding as a family is what keeps them all going, and I thought that was an amazing way to end the episode. I've never seen an episode of a show in this format, and honestly, I loved it. The story was all over the place, but still stuck true to the theme. The narration and the animal behavior both worked perfectly together. It literally felt like I was watching a cartoon documentary. It honestly almost made me want to watch a real one. Despite coming off as serious and monotone with a documentary style, the episode is very light-spirited and has some pretty funny moments. Honestly, in my opinion, I'd rate this episode at least a 9. So finally, the best episode with an amazing rating of 8.9 stars is Unguarded. The episode starts off with Remy getting ready for a medieval party, and Vasquez is already ready with a jester outfit. But then something crazy happens. Remy says Vasquez doesn't need to go, so he's off for the night. When Vasquez finds out he's off for the night, because Remy doesn't need him, he literally has a whole panic attack and passes out. Remy's parents even bring him to a therapist to talk to. The therapist has Vasquez right in his big ol' heart, just by asking him what he cares about. For a bodyguard, this guy literally loves Remy like he's his own son. It's honestly adorable how much he wants to protect this guy. The therapist asks Vasquez to tell a story of how he met Remy, and it's pretty insane. Vasquez used to belong to a group of crazy mercenaries known as the Order of the Fang, and his code name was Tiger Fang. So the mercenaries pick up on a tip that a rich couple purchased one of their ancient scrolls from a museum, and they were there to steal it. But the family unexpectedly comes home early, and the Order of the Fang enters stealth mode. Also insane coincidence, but baby Remy just happens to absolutely love the Order of the Fang scroll, so his parents literally go grab it from the case and leave it with their baby to comfort him. So Vasquez sees a perfect opportunity to take the scroll from the baby, but if he does, he's gonna start crying. One of Vasquez's fellow mercs suggests he should take the baby too and convert him to the Order of the Fang. That's crazy. But of course, Vasquez is not a fan of the idea, since his friend literally says they're gonna throw the baby in the dungeon if he doesn't like the group. This makes Vasquez turn on his entire order and puts the baby back in the crib despite the consequences. And this makes Vasquez's mercenary friend attack him, and they have an insanely cool fight right around this little baby, which that could have gone bad. But two ninjas get their hands on baby Remy, but Vasquez takes them out without even putting a scratch on the baby. He even kicks all the mercenaries out of the window and has safely saved the baby. Remy asks this strange man who just saved their son's life for his name, to which he replies, Vasquez. Honestly, I can't even tell if that's his real name or if he just made it up and stuck with it. After Remy's parents thank Vasquez, they decide that Remy will need a full-time bodyguard, and they offer Vasquez a position. It was at this point that Vasquez literally dedicates his entire existence to protecting Remy, and I admire that a lot. This man has threw away everything and everyone he's ever known to protect some baby he just met. That's some insanely kind-hearted stuff for someone who was literally brought up being taught to kill people for money and whatever else the Order wanted. This also makes me wonder if the Order of Fang's ever going to seek revenge on Vasquez for betraying him. But anyways, Vasquez spent Remy's entire childhood saving him from danger, even roundhouse kicking an eagle. Now back to therapy. The therapist tells Remy that Remy is growing up, and just because he may not need him as much anymore, but then they get interrupted because Remy's sweat tracker went from clammy to glistening. The therapist tries to be like, but her session isn't over. So Vasquez just takes the therapist with him. Once Vasquez sees the party, he starts freaking out. Even though it's just Cricket and Remy just playing with noodles, Vasquez starts to lose his sanity though, because we literally see him aim a tranquilizer at Cricket, and just look how shaky and sweaty this man is. Cricket and Remy finish their joust and fall over, and Vasquez freaks out. until he takes a closer look, and Remy is completely fine. This is when Vasquez finally realizes that maybe Remy doesn't need him as much as he used to, and he starts sobbing. And what's funny about this is that his therapist is pretty happy, but of course he's not. She tells him that change is natural, and with that note, their session is up, so the therapist leaves, and Vasquez is left with a sense of emptiness. Even though he made his breakthrough, he's still upset and feeling lost. So the party is finally over, and Remy comes out super excited to tell Vasquez about it. Vasquez is still a little sad though, but he tries to be happy that Remy had a good time. But then Remy tells him that even though he didn't need him, he still missed him a lot and wants him around. And the episode ends, and we get this beautiful line.
I did miss you though. I still want you around, even if I don't need you. But you'll always be my bodyguard.
And the episode ends on that note. Okay, I feel like I could talk about this episode forever. I loved it. I haven't even watched all of this show, but the fact that they took 4 seasons to give Vasquez a backstory and then executed it perfectly was amazing, even to me who's never seen it. Even the fight scenes were incredible, and it really highlights just how skilled of a man Vasquez is. It's so nice to see why Vasquez is so dedicated to his job and has such a deep bond with Remy. This man grew up basically in a cult of murderers and knew nothing but discipline and work, so all he had to do was direct that energy into protecting Remy. And it was so sweet to see how even though their bond is changing and Remy is getting older, they both still have a lot of love for each other, and bonds like that will last a lifetime. The bodyguard scene was such a cute scene and so relieving. At some point the audience starts to feel really bad for Vasquez because he really is such a kind soul, so to see Remy reassure him at the end and give him a hug was such a satisfying way to end the episode. Just from the few episodes I've seen, Vasquez was easily my favorite character, so it's very clear to me why fans and critics love this episode so much. I love when a best shows episode will be nothing about the main characters. It's always cool to see that. Also, shout out to Super C _ SpongeBob memes for the idea for this video and to allow me to watch this beautiful show. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just, watching Big City Greens, talking about Big City Greens, my opinions, my thoughts, just talking about Big City Greens. That's what I'm literally talking about. I'm talking about Big City.